all the trees regarding our gender identity and sexuality. When there's no place like home, empty air, an empty establishment. Friends with Dorothy, fighting for your civil rights. Out on the cruel streets tonight.
Well, it's that time of the year again when we say goodbye to the Edinburgh Fringe and hello to the Dublin Fringe. And today I'm welcoming as my guests three of what we're expecting to be the luminaries at the 2023 Dublin Fringe. So in the top left-hand corner, we have Tracy Martin, who is a producer, director, playwright, just for her sins. And then down in the bottom, the gorgeous twosome we have are on the left, we have Lynette Callaghan, and on her right, and on my right, is Georgina McKevitt, who are two stars of Tracy's play. So welcome, everybody. And
thank you.
Yeah, you might have to turn your sound up a little bit, Tracy, just to be on the safe side.
Oh, sorry.
That's great. Yep.
I was being coy. I was going, thank you, but thank you.
Oh, that's fine. We can do coy. Tracy, I'm going to start with yourself. This is a Red Bear production, which I gather is a theatre company that you established yourself. Is that correct?
That is correct, and we're coming up to a 10-year anniversary next year. Been producing plays under the name of Red Bear for 10 years. So we're having a birthday party for that.
What's the origin of the name? Because obviously reds and things like that mean something to me.
Well, it does actually. It means, well, the red comes from, I would consider myself a kind of a naive socialist. Mm-hmm. And the bear comes from, I wanted something queer, and I love bear men, you know. So that honestly, that's where I came from, because I was meant to be teaming up with a sound designer called Philip Stewart, who was a good friend of mine, and then I ended up kind of doing it on my own. So we kind of wanted something that was kind of left of center, but always had a queer element in it.
Yeah,
so
well, when we get to Lynette in a second, I'll be coming to the 2 degrees of separation. But you mentioned there you like bears. For the last 3 Dublin Prides, I've ridden in the bear bus, and it was the best time I have ever had. So I can certainly recommend it. Even though I'm not much of a bear myself, but that's another story. Lynette, welcome to Dublin City FM. I'm going to give you the 2 degree. To me, I don't know if you recall, Will Smith's best movie, I think, was 6 Degrees of Separation. But when you come back to Dublin, it's 2 degrees of separation. In other words, if you're lucky. But our 2 degrees of separation is, I gather, you were in Emmerdale at one stage.
I was a very long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, well, so was my cousin. He actually played 2 different parts in Emmerdale. At one time he was a prison officer, and at another time he was a rugby player.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So how does doing what is a national soap, and in Emmerdale's case probably a northern institution, how does that compare with, say, something like the Dublin Fringe, which is a bit more challenging and experimental?
Well, the Emmerdale, the funny thing about it is Emmerdale is like Fair City in England. Everybody kind of goes on to do it when you studied somewhere. It'd be like going on doing your stint in Fair City. So I went on and did my little bit in Emmerdale. Doing the Fringe is great. I mean, these are a great bunch of people to work with. It's so much fun. Everybody's really on for it. Everybody's really up for a good time. And it's a great play, very well written with amazing actors in it. So you can't really ask for anything more.
Well, let's go back to that for a second, because I'm old enough to remember when it was called Emmerdale Farm, if you remember that. And then Emmerdale became one of the more, shall we say, challenging soaps, because it had the lesbian vet. It had it used to kill off characters by the dozen by having a plane crash or a bus crash or something like that. So was that the case when you were there, or was it, I mean, you played a nurse, but...
I did, yes. I played Irish nurse. I was looking after someone in a wheelchair in hospital. It was just before the crash, just before everybody got killed off. So yeah, all those characters you were talking about were in it when I was there. Yeah.
Can you put your good friend Georgina on, because I'm going to get.
I'm her wife. It's my wife now, please.
Yeah, Georgina, I'm going to give you my 2 degrees of separation, because I gather Lynette mentioned Fair City. I gather you were in Fair City, if I'm correct.
Sure, who wasn't? You must have been in it yourself at some point, were you?
No, but we had a lodger, well, not a lodger, but we had a crasher here last year for about 10 days who was actually in Fair City at the time. So we're just about back to 1 degree of separation. Tell me, something like Fair City, it is an institution. Does that help, or does it hinder getting parts? Because you're obviously, you've got well-credentialed kudos from playing in Ireland, in Britain, in movies, in theatre, or is it just something you do as a jobbing actor?
It feels like somewhat like a rite of passage that you do Fair City, and it's great. It is a great experience to do it and to be part of the national broadcast, and for your parents and your aunties and your uncles and stuff like that to go, oh my God, she's from Fair City, she's made the big time. It's lovely to even have that recognition, I guess, within the family or something like that. But theatre will always be my love. Just the crack in rehearsals, the being on stage, a live audience. There's really nothing that can compare to theatre. Just the energy that goes with it, and anything could happen, and you just have to be ready all the time.
Yeah. Just to ask you the obvious question, did you get, when you were there, or did you get people coming up to you in the supermarket and saying, I saw you in Fair City last night? Because that's exactly what we got with our short-term house guest. You couldn't go into a shopping centre without people coming up and saying hello to them.
I tell you what, once I got recognised, and it was outside Spirit on Abbey Street. And we were dancing all night, and we were hanging around outside Spirit afterwards, looking for an after party, and there wasn't one. But someone was like, "Are you in Fair City?" And I was like, "Yeah. Do you have an after party?" That was the only time from Fair City. I only got recognised once from Fair City.
Jesus, you weren't watch the after party.
Nah.
Tracy, I'm going to come back to yourself. As I said at the beginning, you're a producer, you're a director. I think you started off as was it a stagehand or a set designer? You're also a playwright. Do you have a preference, or is it just all part and parcel of working in, particularly in theatre?
I'm a little bit like Georgina. My heart will always be in theatre, and like starting out, any position I could get, whether it was, stage manager, assistant stage manager, running around backstage, anything just to get the experience. But to be in the rehearsal room, working with actors, directing, is anybody who gets to do that all the time is having a fabulous time. Yeah. To just be, to be working with good actors and really kind of working on a script it's not even work, True. It's pure art, and it's gorgeous.
I know our brace of thespians down below have a shared pedigree through Dublin Youth Theatre. What was your start, or where did you start?
Oh, it was literally helping out with plays, I think in like Bewley's Cafe Theatre, and just trying to nudge my way in there, and you couldn't get rid of me. I'd be saying that I go get props, but then I'd be sitting in rehearsal. So yeah, I think Bewley's Cafe Theatre was the start for me, and I literally would have done anything, painted the set, gotten the shoes, anything, just to be around it.
Well, to come back to Lynette and Georgina, you can answer this either sequentially or together or however. Dublin Youth Theatre, it's got a great reputation, and it's produced some very well-known and well-respected actors. What's the grounding that you found there, and is it something you would recommend to up-and-coming performers?
Well, I got my start in Dublin Youth Theatre. I was 14 when I joined, and I was extremely shy, and I would just hang around after workshops. I wouldn't even speak to anybody. for like probably the first 6 to 7 weeks, but I just wanted to be there. And then eventually I'd start chatting to people, and it absolutely completely changed my life. I'm still like best friends with a lot of people that I would have come up the years with. And it just gives you such grounding in and education and people and social skills and different backgrounds, and just things I never would have been exposed to, and travel and culture and theatre and just understanding people. So the life skills were, hugely important.
Sure.
And then the connections, because you can go anywhere and be like, oh, DYT, yep. And I feel very fortunate that I got to be part of it. And it's changed, it's not in the house anymore. It's in a different location now. And the house was such a huge part of it. So the young people coming through it now are having a different experience, but I'm sure it's it's an incredible experience also, but different to my experience.
Yeah. Lynette, I'm going to ask you, when you're coming through, because it is I have a family member who did take up acting in TCD for a while, and I said, I was brutal and said, this is, you got to be hungry to do that. When you were going through DYT, was it what I would call cooperative in the sense that people backed each other up, or was it competitive in the sense that I can do better than that, Lynette Callaghan?
Unfortunately, I have to ask Georgina, I didn't go there.
Oh, did you not? I apologise.
No, I wish
well,
I did.
Wherever you do, what was it like becoming a, starting out then? Was it daunting, or was it people encouraging you?
It was daunting. I mean, I was in school, and my parents weren't mad at me going into acting, rightly so. So they just really wanted me to get my leaving cert, then they were going to be supportive. So I actually went and I auditioned for a whole bunch of drama schools in Ireland and England, and I went to Manchester in the end, Manchester Metropolitan. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was great. But yeah, it's scary starting out, and it's and it never changes. It's a constantly scary career.
And I want to just tie this up with both of you. For people who are coming through, I always reckoned you had two sorts of people who go to acting: those who want to do the work and those who want the applause of the crowd. And I think the latter are the ones who fall away first. How hungry do people have to be to get to the stage where you ladies are at?
If there's anything else you can do it instead, is what I would say. Anything at all. But I mean, if it's all you want to do, then you're going to do it. And I think you want both those things you said. I think you want the applause and you want the first. I think you need to want both of those. Mm-hmm. I think
it's hard work. No, it's definitely hard work, and you need to have good grounding, and you need to have good well-being, because it's a very critical world. And you criticize yourself, you get criticized by other people. If you're constantly questioning yourself, so taking care of your well-being is very important. And just having good support around you, and be hungry, be motivated, determined, and
also enjoy the applause.
Enjoy the applause, yeah.
And that's why they give you enormous salary, so that you can go off and swan around red carpets, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wait, where do you get the enormous
salary bit? Yeah.
Yeah. Tracy, I'm going to come back to yourself. You are a playwright. You've written a play called Once in a Lifetime, which is going to open in about a week's time at the Dublin Fringe Festival. It's not your first play, but what shall we say motivated you to go down that path, or was it always something you wanted to do?
No, to be honest, I have a very plain reason for going into playwriting. Was that when I was starting out with Red Bear, I just found it incredibly hard to get the rights to other people's plays. So I thought, if I want to put a play on this year, then I'm going to have to write it myself. And so all of the plays this is my 6th one. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's purely driven by just, it's almost like I need to get the story out, and I can't figure out how else to do it apart from to write it down myself. Sometimes I wish somebody else would write it. This time for this show, Una McKevitt was the director, and that's the first time I've had somebody else in directing my work, and that was a total pleasure. So I was able to just swan around and leave her and the actors to it. But yeah, it's through necessity, and that's why the Fringe is great, because you can come up with an idea for a story or a show, and they will, within like 6 months, you can be putting it onto the stage. So there's an immediacy to that that's very addictive.
Yeah. Would that be the same Una McKevitt from Pan fame?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a small world in Dublin, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm going to come back to the two thespians. How did you come to be involved in this? Now, I'm not going to say, Georgina, you're a McKevitt. Is there any link there? But were you approached, or did you approach Tracy in this regard?
I seen a post actually. Tracy put up a post holding auditions, and I've lived away for a long time, so I actually haven't been on panic setting in now. I haven't been on a Dublin stage in over 10 years. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll just contact Tracy and see what the crack is. And that's how it started. And I actually, when I was walking to the audition, met Lynette. And we worked together years ago in a box office. 20 years ago. Shh.
Sorry.
But we hadn't seen each other in years, and we just happened to bump into each other before the audition. Yeah. Inseparable now. Yeah, so that's how it started. I mean, obviously I know Tracy a long time, but we hadn't worked in a close capacity in any way, had we, Tracy?
No, I don't think so.
No. Yeah. So yeah, it was a post that I seen, and I was like, you know,
and Lynette,
I had all the anxiety, but I applied.
Yeah. Lynette, how did you come to be involved in the play? Was it a very similar experience?
Nearly the exact same, yeah. I knew of Tracy. I've seen Tracy's work before. I'd seen Wrapped before. I loved it. I'd seen Dublin Will Show You How. And I'd also seen Una McKevitt's work, Singlehood. And the second I saw those two names on actually Ealaíon McCann's page, who was also Red Bear, she put up a post, and I was like, I'm going to go for that. So, and I got it. So very happy.
Tracy, I'm going to come back to yourself because I want to talk about the play itself that's coming up at the Fringe. It's called Once in a Lifetime. We don't have the other two performers here. Leah Walsh, who I've met a few times before at when we did interviews for previous Fringes, and it's Deborah Dickenson. How did you come to cast them, or how did they come to be cast as well? Because they're they would be, if you like, the teenagers in the play.
Yeah, that's right. Well, actually, Leah was in a previous production that I'd written called Dublin Will Show You How. And she was fabulous. So she got in touch, and I was like, yeah, we'd love to see you. And then Deborah, I had been involved in a project with Deborah in Ballymonaxis a couple of years previous, and I'd seen her do some cabaret shows, and she was wiping the floor with all the cabaret artists. And so when I knew that she was around, and so we actually auditioned the two of them together because they play best friends. And we were lucky enough to be able to, myself and Una, to just tell them on the spot, yeah, look, you're fabulous. When you see their bold faces next to each other on stage, and like, I mean, they're both in their, I don't know how old they are, but they're definitely not teenagers. But when they're in their school uniforms, they're the boldest things around. So yeah,
yeah. No, I met Leah a few years ago when she did a play at the Fringe. And we hit it off straight away because she's an outsider like myself. So tell me, what's the genesis, there's a posh word for you, of this play? How did it come to you, and what was the inspiration for it?
Well, I mean, so it's the genesis of it is that there's like 5 different stories that short stories that I wanted to tell. And 2 of them get told by characters, by both Georgina and Lynette during the play. And one of the other stories that I wanted to tell was a story of a lesbian couple who were, one of them was pregnant, and they were pretty close to divorce, and they were getting bitter with each other about who got pregnant, and I wanted them to kind of have an argument about being asked rude questions by strangers about how the pregnancy happened. So that was one of the short stories, and another short story in it is the two teenagers. One of them coming home and needing to take an abortion pill, and her friend is there to help her. So the 5 or 6 different stories I kind of mashed together to put it all into one night in Lynette and Georgina's character's house, and the teenagers have come home, and Lynette's character has come home fuming, and Georgina's character is just about to, like, they're very, very close to really splitting up with each other. And for me, it's great because I got to write dialogue that was really sparky between women and feels a bit kind of Falcon Crest sometimes, but they're really at each other, and they're, to watch the actors really shine through it is just, I'm having a great time watching them. So I can't wait to see them on stage doing it.
I'm going to come to Lynette and Georgina. I've had experience of divorce, so I've got some background in it. I've always said to people there is no such thing as a happy divorce. It doesn't matter what people say. At a certain point, there is antagonism in it. Was it stretching your experience to, shall we say, get into the skin of the characters?
Yeah, I mean,
there's about orientation or anything. That's I don't want to spoil the story and of the drama itself.
We've all been in difficult relationships, I suppose, so
there's lots of things to take into account when approaching the characters, and there's lots of elements. For me, sometimes it's having to relate to certain things and find those things within yourself, and you do, and it might be on a smaller scale or whatever, but how their story relates to you in some way, and there's just so much to the characters. Like there's especially my character, even from, because we did it in Droichead Art Centre in November, so doing it that time and doing it now again, and just being the luxury of being able to do it again and find new things within the character and just exploring that. Like sometimes it's even a little bit like shocking when I go, oh my God, she's saying that because of that, and something I didn't pick up on the first time. It's just incredible to come back to it again, and especially to have Tracy in the room as well, just to get more background on where the story's coming from or where the character's coming from. So it is stretching me in many ways. There's lots of things I have to deal with that I have to connect with through my life. But it is fun.
Lynette, I'm going to come back to yourself on that one. When I was going through a divorce, it was mixed emotions in the sense that I thought, I've got to go through with this. I can't put up with the relationship. But at the same time, because I was, gone through that whole Irish Catholic tradition, I felt as guilty as buggery about it, even though I couldn't wait for the relationship to end. What was your feeling when you approached Tracy's writing?
Well, Tracy's writing is amazing. So it does a lot of the work for you as an actor. You're very lucky like that. I have never been married, so I've never been divorced. But I've been in, obviously, some relationships that you want to get out of. So it's just relating everything back to you. And as I said, the characters are so well written. You just find something that you can relate to it in that you've been through in your own life yourself.
So is that a polite way of saying you blame Tracy or you blame Georgina for the debacle?
Exactly.
Hang on a minute.
I won't go into the issue of were there others involved, but anyway, that's a separate matter. Something I've noticed, Tracy, and I hope you can just give us a brief, very quick understanding of how this works. I gather this is going to be covered by Irish Sign Language. Is that correct? And how does that work?
Well, yeah, I mean, so we're delighted to have an Irish Sign Language interpreter. So I think what's going to happen, she's already been given, sorry, I can't remember the name of the woman who's doing it, but there will basically be at the front of the stage on the last night, somebody to the side, and they will be spotlit, and they will be interpreting as they go. And they have like quite the job to do, because the dialogue is quite, fiery and quick. So I'm really intrigued to see how they get on with that, but delighted that we're able to open up the stage for more accessibility. So yeah, really thrilled that that's happening.
Let's get down to the bums on seats bit. It's going to be playing at the Project Arts Centre. Tell us the dates and the times.
It is playing from the 8th to the 11th. On the 8th, it's on at 6:15, and then the 9th, 10th, and 11th, it's on at 9 o'clock. Isn't that right, Georgina?
That's correct.
With me. So yeah, it's upstairs in Project Arts Centre, and we're hoping, because we're going across the weekend, to just really have a bit kind of a celebration in the bar afterwards. It's a big lesbian drama, and we think audiences in Drogheda, like, they absolutely loved it. There's lots of laughs, there's lots of pathos, and there's lots of arguing. So yeah, come and support us. We'd love to see you there.
And it's selling out rapidly, I gather, as well.
Yeah, no, it is. It's doing really well. But there's always room for more.
Tracy, Lynette, and Georgina, all I can say is break a leg. We look forward to seeing Once in a Lifetime, and I am sure it's going to be one of the great successes of 2023 Dublin Fringe Festival.
Oh, you're very good. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Couldn't see the haunted forest for the trees, regarding our gender identity and sexuality. When there's no place like home, empty air, an empty establishment. Friends with Dorothy, fighting for your civil rights.